ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Monday Night Football Overtime. Giants, Chiefs. What I expected, except for one thing. And I haven't gotten much right this week, as I told you on the podcast earlier today. But I predicted how this game would go, except I thought the Chiefs would pull away late. And they were on the cusp of doing that until Travis Kelce fumbled the football, changed the whole tenor of the game. It goes from 14-10, pending another touchdown, 21-10, and maybe they because their red zone woes are becoming alarming. You know, the Chiefs used to be automatic. Patrick Mahomes would run around, kind of what he did on that second drive when they scored the touchdown, run around, and someone would come open back line of the end zone, whether it was Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, or they'd find Kelce sitting down right at the goal line and he'd zing it in there, or he'd run around and find Samuel Watkins in the back of the end zone. He's not doing that anymore. Guys aren't coming open. Pressure's coming. He's seeing ghosts. There's a lot going on when they get in the red zone. And I told you what the formula is. You rush 3 in the red zone, drop 8, double Kelce, and you make him find someone else. And you got to come up. And I thought the Giants did it perfectly on that last trip into the red zone. They put a spy on him because once that pocket starts to go up the field, he's going to step up and he's going to start to scramble because that's what he's comfortable doing. Send that goddamn spy right after him and he can't get away. And that's what they did, got the sack. But I thought that Peyton Manning said it perfectly. He said, look, the Saints knew they had to score a touchdown against Tom Brady because it's Tom effing Brady on the other sideline. If we don't score a touchdown, more likely than not, he's going to take his team down the field and they're going to win the game. So you need to score a touchdown. In this case, he said, Tom Brady's not on the other sideline. It's Daniel Jones. You don't need a touchdown. You just need a field goal. So take the sack, run the 40 seconds off, kick the field goal, take the lead, and don't expect Daniel Jones to put this team in field goal position. And their kicker has a huge leg in Graham Gano. All they had to do was get to like the 40-yard line. He probably could bust one down from 58. No one was afraid of Daniel Jones taking this offense, this ragtag group, down the field and getting into the end zone. Nobody was afraid of that happening. So they kicked the field goal, and 2 sacks later, incomplete pass, game over, game, set, match. Everybody drive home safely. Chiefs hold on 20-17. Look, the book is out. I literally told you guys before the game earlier today what was going to happen. The book is out on the Chiefs. If I can tell you what's going to happen, then they must know what's going to happen, and they've got to be better at executing. And they can't have 10 penalties for 100 and whatever yards like they had tonight. Can't have the turnovers. They had 2 turnovers. Mahomes threw an interception. He had a wide open receiver. I want to say I think it was Josh Gordon, wide open right in front of him. He zings it through his hands. I don't know if he was throwing it to him or if he was throwing it to Jerick McKinnon behind him, but it hits off of McKinnon's helmet, caroms into the air, and it gets picked off. Then Daniel Jones gives it right back. Great job by Gay to get the interception, and then he finds Tyreek Hill. But then Kelce fumbles later on in the game. And so those costly turnovers, you're not beating Green Bay. You can beat Washington and Philadelphia and the Giants. I told you, the NFC East is going to be great for the Chiefs. If not for the NFC East, the Chiefs are probably 2-6 or 1-7 right now. 3 of their 4 wins have come against the NFC East. And they've all looked eerily similar. Played the Chiefs tough, and then they kind of get away at the end. Not this time, though. Giants played them the toughest of all because they didn't allow the Chiefs to score. Unlike Philadelphia and Washington late, who allowed the Chiefs to pull away, the Giants kept them very close. But they weren't able to do enough. They weren't able to make those plays down the stretch. And, you know, the tall tale signs of a bad team are there with the Giants. you know. But you're starting to see that with the Chiefs too. That's scary because we expect Joe Judge and that group over there to waste a couple of timeouts frivolously. We expect that. That's what they do. We expect them to mangle the clock like he did at the end. Call the damn timeout. You let 40 seconds bleed off the clock, let it get to the 2-minute warning. That's dumb football. Like some of these coaches, they blow my mind how they don't understand how the clock works. We watched Zimmer destroy the clock last night in the Vikings game. You know, like some of these coaches just don't get it. Zimmer used 2 timeouts and had to delay a game. Like, what are you doing, guy? So I expect those things from the Giants. I expect Brad Penny to catch a pass, get a gain of 20, get up, and get a stupid-ass taunting penalty. That's the Giants. They're 2-6 for a reason. I expect that stupid shit from them. I expect their cornerback, Darnay Holmes, to make a hell of a play, but have it negated by offsides. I expect that from the Giants. They're a bad football team. I don't expect the Chiefs to throw a football off the helmet of one of their players and get it picked off in the end zone. I don't expect the Chiefs to be driving to put the game away and fumble the football. I don't expect the Chiefs to have Daniel Jones and company right where you want them and have a roughing the passer penalty. That's what the Chiefs are right now. That's what they are. Heavy penalty-laden team, turn the football over, waste timeouts. They're looking up at the scoreboard to see if Mecole Hardman caught the ball. Now they got to waste the timeout. It's 17-17, dude. Or 17, I think they were trailing at that time, 17-14. You can't be blowing timeouts. Looking up at the scoreboard. He didn't catch the damn ball. You tell the team, y'all get in the huddle, get ready to call the play. I got the challenge flag in my hand. I'll throw it if I need to. Y'all go run the goddamn play. What are we doing? You gonna waste the timeout? The Chiefs right now aren't the Chiefs. They're just Kansas City. Okay? They're just Kansas City. And until they figure out how to exploit simple, basic, 2-man, 2 high safety looks, okay, cover 2, whether it's cover 2 or it's 2-man, until they are able to digest that, understand that this is what you're going to see moving forward. No one's going to allow Travis Kelce to have a 40-yard chunk play over the middle of the football field. We're going to Tampa 2 that shit away. So we're going to tell our linebacker to go screaming with his ass up the seam. That shit is done. No one's going to allow Tyreek Hill to have an 80-yard bomb over the middle of the field or run from one side of the field all the way across the other side and watch Mahomes sling that shit 56 yards in the air, have him run under it and backpedal into the end zone. Those days are over. Everybody's going to do the same thing, okay? The template is out. The blueprint has been laid. Cover 2, 2 deep safeties, everything up. You can run it, light box, have at it. We'll show you different looks. We'll bring a safety down, but by the time you snap that damn ball, safety's getting his ass all the way back. It's a 2 high safety look, and you can run it. 6-man box, have at it. Do what you need to do. You want that little short 5-yard stop? You want that hitch? Take it. Are you disciplined enough to check it down to the running back? Over and 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 over again without making a mistake, without having too many men in a huddle, without having a false start or a procedure penalty. Are you disciplined enough to not have a hands to the face to blow up your drive and make it 1st and 20 like they did on that last drive? Got bailed out by the Giants. That's what bad teams do. Nice little personal foul penalty to bail them out. Are you disciplined enough to keep making not the best play, but the smart play? The right play. Mahomes is being tested right now. He's currently borderlining the test. Like it's a C- right now. Trending towards a D. Until they figure out the best way to attack that with their skill set and their personnel, they're going to continue to struggle. This is the template. This is the blueprint. Everybody's going to use it. I was able to tell you guys what was going to happen in this game. I said, this is going to be a 13-10 game at halftime. It was 14-10 at halftime. I said, it's going to be that same kind of score going into the fourth quarter. It was still 14 or 17-14, whatever the score was. I think it was still 14-10. And then you're going to see the Chiefs pull away late. That's the only thing that didn't happen. And they were, like I said, on the verge of doing that when Kelsey fumbled the football. And the Giants had a great drive, got it into the end zone. Great throw by Daniel Jones to hit Evan Ingram to take the lead 17-14. Short-lived. 9 minutes to go in the game. Mahomes got him back down the field, tied the game up with a field goal, got another stop, got back down the field, got another field goal, won the game 20-17. This wasn't impressive. Who cares? Just get the win. All right. We can sit here and pick apart the game and talk about they still don't look like the Chiefs. Duh. We all can see clearly that this is not the same team from the last 3 years with Patrick Mahomes under center and them going to the AFC Championship that first year and then 2 straight Super Bowls. This is not the same Chiefs team. Clearly, we can all see that. And I don't know if they're going to figure it out this year or not. But a win's a win's a win. When you're trying to figure shit out, the best thing you can do is win. That's what they did tonight. So they're 4-4. They're back at 500. You heard the schedule. You hear what's coming up for this Chiefs team, what's coming down the pipeline. It's not going to be easy. Packers, Raiders, Cowboys, their next 3 games. Ouch. Good luck. You're going to need it. We'll see what they do, but I can assure you there's no NFC East team to bail you out this time. Every time they lost or they had an ugly performance, there was always an NFC East team waiting to save them. Got their asses kicked at home by the Buffalo Bills on a Sunday night. Washington was waiting with open arms to pick them up, dust them off, and say, here you go back on your merry way. Got their asses ramrodded by the Tennessee Titans last week. New York Giants, come on, man. Get back up. Get in there. Get back in the fight. You can do it. Lost to the Ravens. Oh, man, that's a gut punch. Eagles. Go ahead, Kansas City. You can do it. We believe in you. Ain't one of those coming this time. You used all 3 of your NFC East get out of jail free cards. You get your ass stomped. I'm talking ATL stomp. A-Town stomp, mud holding ass this week against Green Bay. You follow that up with a nice trip to Vegas. Ain't no NFC East team to save you. After that, you get an NFC East team, but it ain't no saving. It's the only team that has any backbone in the division. So Chiefs are in a tough spot. And with the way the AFC looks, I don't even know if these guys are making it to the postseason. I'm not counting them out. I've already said I refuse to count them out. I don't think they're just going to magically fix what's ailing them right now. I don't think they magically fix it, but I just think they've got enough stuff to figure it out. So I don't know what it's going to take to get in. And their division is still wide open. I mean, who trusts the Raiders? They're playing well. I like what I see from them, but who trusts them to say, hey, they're going to take this division? Just like who trusts Cincinnati? Like, I don't trust Vegas. I don't trust the Bengals. I don't trust the Chargers. And that's why I'm like, I still don't know if they don't win the division. So it's going to be interesting to see how everything plays itself out in that division because the Broncos, by trading Von Miller, pretty much said, okay, we realize we stink. Okay, we're 4-4, but we stink. We know it. So they've already acknowledged that we're not going anywhere with what we got. You know, we got a bunch of injuries, and our quarterback situation is what it is. All right, we see what this is. So they've waved the white flag, essentially, have the Denver Broncos. The Chargers are young, first-year head coach, still trying to figure some shit out. They're going to struggle. They're going to win some games, but they're going to struggle in others like they did against New England. They can't stop the run. That's a formula for disaster. So I don't believe in the Chargers yet. And then the Raiders, I think their defense, much like Dallas, you get that defensive coordinator and it changes things. They're better defensively because they're better coached. But are they consistent enough to win the games that we don't think they're supposed to win? We know they can win the games that we think they're supposed to win. They've done that this season. Credit to them for doing that. They've won a couple that we didn't think they were going to win, but we didn't know that the Steelers were garbage on offense when they beat them in week 2. We didn't know that yet. They were coming off of a big win versus Buffalo. We're like, oh my God, they went to Pittsburgh and won. The Steelers are trash on offense. So they've done what they were supposed to do, have Vegas. They've taken out the teams that they're supposed to take out. Can they beat the teams that we're not sure they're supposed to beat? They went to LA on a Monday night and they couldn't get it done. So I get it. Different team now, different head coach. Maybe it's a different result the next time. But I said all of that to say this. Don't count the Kansas City Chiefs out. I don't know if they're going to be able to fix some of the issues that they have, but just off of raw talent, and I can tell you this too, and maybe it's the competition. I will grant you that. When you play Washington and the Giants 2 out of 3 weeks, I get it. But I think the defense is getting better. They got Chris Jones back tonight. They got Tyrann Mathieu back about a month ago. They're starting to get better. Some of these younger players are playing well. We saw Gay running all over the field tonight. I love Nick Bolton. They've got some stuff. I still worry about their secondary, specifically the cornerback position, but they are getting better defensively. They're not as bad. And again, it could just be the competition. And if they give up 37 next week to Green Bay, then we could put that conversation to bed. Their defense isn't any better than it was. I think they're going to keep Green Bay to 24 or less and give themselves a chance next week. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section and see what you guys got to say. And we start with my guy, Captain Spartan 04. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Captain Spartan, who writes, because I don't see how a new GM can come in and accept Joe Judge and Daniel Jones, who you think is a good possible coach for the Giants next year. I mean, it just depends on what direction you're trying to go in. I mean, how bad do the Giants end up being? What are your thoughts on Daniel Jones? Like, are you saying, hey, we think this guy can work, he just needs a new coordinator or he needs a new head coach? Or are you like, we're done with the Daniel Jones experiment, we're ready to move on? Because they got to make a decision. Next year, they've got to decide whether to pick up the 5th-year option or not. It's that time. Okay, now we're in year 3. Next year, you'll be going into year 4, and you got to decide to pick up that 5th-year option or not. It'll be really telling what they decide to do if they decide to decline that 5th-year option, which most teams don't do that. When you're not sure about a quarterback, you just pick up the 5th-year option. It's not going to kill you. We saw that with the Titans with Marcus Mariota. We saw that with the Bucks with Jameis Winston. Generally, if you haven't given up, and I don't think the Giants have given up on Daniel Jones, you just pick up the 5th-year option. Even if you're going to go in a different direction, you still pick up the 5th-year option anyway, as an insurance policy. So I don't think they're going to allow that to lapse. I think they're going to pick that thing up. And even if they're thinking about moving on, he'll still be there. But it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do, because they went in a different direction with Joe Judge. He's a special teams guy with some defensive background, but he's more of a defensive, special teams minded type of guy than he is an offensive guy. That's why you hired, well, I think Jason Garrett was already there before he got there. I believe he might not have been. I think he was, but that's nor here nor there. I think Jason Garrett's been there for 2 years. So if that's the case, he came in with Joe Judge. Either way, the bottom line is, what are you looking to do? Are you looking? I've talked about this. The new trend and wave in the league is you marry a young coach with a young quarterback, and you want those two to make a match that lasts for years and years to come. Obviously, if you believe in Daniel Jones, you can do whatever you want. You can get a defensive-minded guy. You could bring in an offensive-minded guy, to maybe groom Daniel Jones and mold and shape him into a different type of quarterback, or have a better feel for what Daniel Jones does well and start to utilize that a little bit more, so like his athleticism, and maybe bringing in an offense that is a little bit more catered towards getting guys out on the move, similar to what Brian Daboll is doing in Buffalo with Josh Allen. That's a guy that keeps coming up, in a quarterback like Josh Allen, or the quarterback like Daniel Jones, to me, fits in a scheme that like a guy like Brian Daboll would be able to take and really help him mature while accentuating his skill set and the strengths that he has. So that's a guy that comes to my mind, is Brian Daboll. Obviously we keep talking about, and this is why you want a guy to get a job before, because now who's talking about Eric Bieniemy now? The offense is stagnant. They can't score in the red zone. Now who's touting Eric Bieniemy right now? Who's beating that drum for him? You know what I'm saying? So that's the frustrating part. Maybe his window is starting to close. We don't know. The bottom line is, I don't know what direction they're going to go in. I would assume Dave Gettleman has to go, though. Like, if he's back, nothing changes. Even if you were to move on from the coach, which he hired. How many coaches is this guy going to be allowed to hire? So at some point, I think it starts with Gettleman. And even if you decided to hold on to Joe Judge for another year and bring in a new GM and see if they can, coexist. And then if not, 1 year in, you fire, Joe Judge, and you hire your own coach as a GM. That's what they're doing in Denver right now. They had the GM come in last year, George Patton. You give Vic Fangio one more opportunity. It doesn't work. We'll see how this team plays. If they find a way to get to 8 or 9 wins, I think Fangio's back. If this thing sputters out of control, because they stink. If this thing sputters out of control and they're 6-11, I think Fangio's gone, and then George Patton gets to hire his own head coach. That could be the situation in New York. You keep Joe Judge. You want to see one more year of him. You keep Daniel Jones. You keep the party together. Except you move on from Dave Gettleman. You bring a new pair of eyes in here to assess the talent on the roster, figure out what guys they want to keep, what guys they want to move on from. And then if you don't like what you see, because that's what's happening, it's a mirror of what's going on in Denver, honestly, because they got an issue at quarterback. Drew Lock and Daniel Jones were in the same draft with one another. They've already given up on Drew Lock as Denver. The Giants, not so much with Daniel Jones, but they're going to have to find another quarterback. And I think they're going to rely on George Patton to do that. And I think you bring in a GM. You see if you can figure out if Daniel Jones is the guy or not. Maybe if Joe Judge is the right man for the job or not. If you decide neither of those guys are the guy for the job, you move on from both of them, and the GM gets to pick his new head coach and his new quarterback. So I don't know what they're going to do. I right now think that everybody's staying put except for Gettleman at this current juncture. But I don't believe in Joe Judge. So I did before. It's crazy. I think he gets it. I just think he, like a lot of these guys that came from the Belichick tree, and he's super arrogant because he came from not only the Belichick tree, but he also got a little splash of Nick Saban in there too. So he really thinks he's got all of the answers. And the thing is, when you've been around guys like that and you think you've learned everything and there's some osmosis that takes place and you've sucked up all that knowledge and you think you're ready to go out and do what those guys have done, the only thing I can tell you is that you don't have the winning pedigree. You got rings on your fingers, but you didn't do that. They did that. You were just a part of that. And that's what everyone that leaves New England fails to realize is you can't do the shit that Belichick does. You can't run your ship the way he does because there is an already established culture there that says this is how we do things and this is the hardware to prove it. My way or the highway. And guys have to come in and they have to find a way to fit into that culture or else they're not going to be there. Whereas when you go somewhere and you try to install that culture and we're not winning and you're being tough on us and all of this bullshit and we're running laps and we're doing dumb shit like we're some kind of high school team, shit doesn't work. And you're wasting timeouts and you're not managing the game well and you look disheveled on the sidelines, shit doesn't work. You got a 3X sweater on. Like you can't do the Belichick thing where you look like you haven't shaved in 3 weeks and you haven't bathed in a couple of months. You can't do the Belichick thing. He can get away with that because he's a winner. You can't do that. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Silver V, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Silver Villains, writes, oh my God, my team is not good for my health. Although they just made me the new champ of Soul Survivor. Congratulations, Silver V. I forgot all about that. I just conceded that I lost. I expected the Chiefs to win tonight. And, you know, quick story on that before I finish your comment. I never like when everyone picks one team. Like, I went away from that earlier in the year. And I think I told you guys this. Everybody picked New England against Houston. And I was going to pick New England as well. I said, nope, not doing that. I got eliminated like that twice already before. I said, I'm not doing it. Anytime everybody thinks they know who's going to win, that's when the league throws a curveball and says, no, you don't. So I said, I'm not picking New England. I'm going to pick the Ravens. And I knew it was a risky proposition. They were playing the Colts at home on a Monday night. I was like, that's not an easy game, but that's the only other game I trust on the schedule. I took the Ravens. The Patriots should have lost to the Texans. They were losing the entire game, came back and won. So everybody got saved, okay? You were probably one of those people that got saved that day. And meanwhile, I'm over here cheesing ear to ear like, man, those bastards, they got away. I'm glad I didn't pick the Patriots. And then I had to sweat it out on Monday night with the Ravens. They had no business winning that game. Should have lost 3 or 4 times over, but they found a way to come back and win. So then my dumb ass sees the same shit lined up again, where I picked Cincinnati, and then I look when I'm inputting all the picks in, and I see everybody except one person, and that one person was you, had Cincinnati. I said, this is some bullshit. I shouldn't do this. And my second thought was just pick Seattle over Jacksonville. But I'm like, I don't trust Geno Smith. So I went against my better judgment, and I picked Cincinnati with everybody else. And that's why you can't trust garbage-ass teams. Because the Bengals they're not legit yet. They don't know what they're doing yet. It's a bunch of young boys running around out there. They have no clue what they're doing. That's how you lose to the Jets. You have no clue what you're doing. That's the same team that lost to the Bears. And I really actually thought they could win me a survivor pool. You need to wash your face and get your mind right. I deserve to lose. And you deserve to win. Congratulations on winning the Soul Survivor pool. Your money will be in your account tomorrow. To the victors go the spoils, man. So congratulations. And it makes it that much sweeter that your team was the one to win you the survivor pool at that. He says, I will be sending 2 slabs of barbecue to QB Mike White and the officials of the Bengals Jets game. You should. You definitely should do that because I thought that was one of the most egregious calls I've seen all season long. That helmet to helmet bullshit on 3rd down where they're pretty much done. You're going to call that? Seriously? I could have super kicked that official. Picked him up and then stone cold stunnered him and then got on the top rope and hit him with a Macho Man Randy Savage elbow. That shit was garbage. Anyway, congratulations again, Silver V, for being the champion of the Soul Survivor pool. Guess you were the Soul Survivor, my man. Guess you were the sole survivor. So let's get to the comment section. And if you're out there and you haven't already done so, please do me a huge favor. Hit the subscribe button for more great content. Turn on your notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And also hit the like button. Over 120 of you out there, only 40 likes. We can do so much better. Thank you so much. Niners fan writes, Chiefs' struggles can be blamed on the Super Bowl hangover. Only team to beat the hangover this past decade has been the Patriots. While everything you said there is factual, their struggles aren't as simple as, oh, it's just a hangover. It's more intricate than that. It's a whole philosophical belief. And on some of it also, and this is why I say you're not wrong, is because some of this shit, like this is the first time they've seen two deep safeties. I remember the Houston Texans doing this exact thing last year, week 1, in the rain. Two deep safeties the whole game, and they just ran Clyde Edwards-Helaire down their throat. Won that game like 29. It was a sloppy game, 29 to like 14 or whatever. It wasn't aesthetically pleasing. This isn't the first time they've seen two. Oh my God, two deep safeties. What are we gonna do? Like, they've been seeing this shit before, but now they're struggling. And here's the difference: that Mahomes magic, that bullshit Mahomes would do, run backwards 27 yards, fling it 60 yards, and hit Tyreek Hill, down the field. The defender falls down or overruns the play, and Hill stops on a dime and catches the ball and then jaunts into the end zone. Or he scrambles out to his right and he's about to run out of bounds, and right at the last second, he flicks his wrist, and all of a sudden, Travis Kelce is open, and it's a 22-yard game. That shit isn't happening this year. That's the difference this year. That ball's getting batted in the air, it's getting picked up. Somebody's tracking him down from behind, forcing a fumble. It's different this year. Nobody's open, he's got to throw it out of bounds. That's the difference. That's the biggest difference. Is all of that crazy shit, that mumble jumble that he usually does, that he gets away with, he's not getting away with that shit anymore. Instead of somebody being open and him throwing this ridiculously pinpoint accurate throw back corner of the end zone like he did against the Saints last year, it's hitting off of somebody's helmet, caroming into the air and getting picked off. He used to be able to do no wrong. Everything he did, you say, hey, you don't do that. You'd see little kids watching all the little kids want to be Steph Curry. You're not Steph Curry. Don't shoot the ball from back there. Don't pull up for a 3 in transition from back there. We got a 3-on-1 break. Don't pull up at the 3-point line. Get the damn layup. Everybody want to be Steph Curry. All the little kids want to be Patrick. No. You don't throw that sidearm shit. You don't throw no-look passes. Okay? Do it the fundamental way. Do it the right way. That shit he's been doing, that's a coach's nightmare. Don't do it like Patrick. But he got away with it. He ain't getting away with that shit this year. And so that's, to me, the biggest difference in this year and past years is he could do no wrong. He could do no wrong. He'd scramble around for 5 seconds, make 3 dudes miss, and then throw it up for grabs, and somebody would magically be right where the ball was. This year, somebody is where the ball is. It's just not the same guy wearing the same color uniform as him. Metaphor. Right? First of all, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. I actually wanted the Chiefs to win, and I hate them. Didn't want to see the Giants make a fool of us. In the end, they did what we do, what bad teams do. I don't have a problem with the Chiefs, so I was rooting for them the entire way because, as you mentioned, I don't want to see the Giants do anything. I don't want the Giants to officially make us the last place team in the division. Look, we all stink. And even if they would have won tonight, it would have given them a ton of confidence. That would have been 2 in a row. They would have been, starting to play hot football. That's 3 and 5. And now all of a sudden they're smelling themselves. Cool their ass off, put a little bit of water on that, it's a fire, extinguish it a bit. Now all of a sudden they're 2 and 6 and they're back right at the cellar of the division where they belong. But I can tell you this right now, and not that this matters, right? Their 2-6 looks a lot better than our 2-6. Just keeping it a buck. Their 2-6 looks a hell of a lot better than our 2-6. And who gives a shit what 2-6 looks like? Okay, who cares? But if we're comparing 2-6s, theirs looks better than ours because their defense shows up every single week, which is what we thought. Like, we wouldn't feel as bad about our 2-6 if the defense showed up every single week like the Giants defense usually does. Our defense just got to the party. I mean, hella late. Soon as they got to the party, the shit is over. Season's done. They just got here. Hey, man, where y'all going? Man, we going home. The shit's over. We've been here. We've been waiting on your ass. You just showed up. But I brought a keg. We don't give a shit. Drink it by your damn self. The Giants defense gives them a chance every week. That's how they beat New Orleans. That's how they came back and beat Carolina last week. And that's how they almost won tonight. Now, they got a mud hole stomped in them by the Rams. And they gave up 40 plus to the Cowboys. I'm aware of both of these things. But those are elite teams. So I'll just say this. They're playing better than us right now. And it's a shame because our defense is actually playing better and our offense is just not scoring any points, which we know the Giants can't score any points. Should they score points against us? I don't know. I don't know what to say. Atlas, thank you for the comment, who writes, can't imagine either team leaves this game feeling good about themselves. Time to stick a fork in the Chiefs for the season? ? No. I kind of already explained that at the beginning of the show. I wouldn't do that if I were any of you. I mean, you feel free to feel the way that you feel about the Kansas City Chiefs. I myself don't look at the Chiefs as a team that you can just say, okay, yeah, they're not any good this year. They still got Mahomes. They still got Hill. They still got Kelsey. They'll get Clyde Edwards-Helaire back at some point. Josh Gordon may not, and I've said this already, I don't think he'll ever be Flash Gordon again. But he may get more comfortable in what they're doing and may become a bigger piece of that puzzle at some point this season. They're getting healthier defensively, and they're getting better on that side of the football. I wouldn't count the Kansas City Chiefs out. I just wouldn't. But you're right about one thing. They won this game, but they don't feel good about the way they played tonight. But again, you correct mistakes with a win and a grin. Okay? That's what you want to do. You want to correct the mistakes with a win and a grin. And that's what they did tonight. They got the win. Now you can go back, watch the film, say, okay, we can't have 12 penalties or 10 penalties for 100 and whatever yards. Can't have the 2 turnovers. They absolutely killed us. Can't have these mistakes against Green Bay and Vegas and Dallas if we want to actually beat good teams. But they got the win. That's the most important thing. Emperor Meech. My guy Emperor Meech writes, fun isn't something one considers when balancing the universe. But this does put a smile on my face. Quote, Thanos. Touche, my friend. Touche. Okay. He's a Giants fan, for those of you who don't know. And he has been rooting for the demise of this Giants team for about 2 years running now. Doesn't want Daniel Jones, never wanted Daniel Jones, and I don't blame him. Has never really been a huge fan of Dave Gettleman. Again, I don't blame him. And wants them gone. And he probably wants to throw Joe Judge in that pot as well and get him the hell out of town too. Cook all of their asses and get them out of there all at once. So he's been rooting for the demise of his Giants. And I'll say that they've gotten some beatdowns this season, but they always find a way to pull the organization back in when they're starting to think that, yeah, maybe we should make a change. Then they go beat Carolina. Now they come close to the Chiefs, even though the Chiefs aren't the Chiefs. I don't know, man. They get to 7 wins, and I'm not saying they will, but I'm not saying they won't. Let's look at the Giants' schedule. See if this thing ever actually eases up. They got the Raiders next. Then they got the Bucks. But then they got the Eagles, the Dolphins, the Chargers, the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Bears, and Washington. Yeah. All right. So you can beat the Eagles. You can beat the Dolphins. You're going to be in the game against the Chargers. I don't think you'll beat them, but you'll be in that game. I can't see you beating the Cowboys, but they're coming to your place. We'll see. It's family business. You can beat the Eagles, you can beat the Bears, and you can beat Washington. So there are 5 remaining games on the schedule that are winnable for you. Really 6. After you get past the Buccaneers game, there's 6 games. And you actually should have beat the Buccaneers or could have beat the Buccaneers last year. So I won't say that that's not a winnable game. I just don't think you're going to win it. But either way, you're a bad team. Bad teams find ways to lose games. So more likely than not, you'll probably win something like 5 or 6, similar to Washington. You'll find ways to lose games that you're in, like tonight, but you won't win because you're just not a good team. So I think you may get your wish this offseason. At least Gettleman. I can't speak for Joe Judge yet, but I think you'll get your wish on Gettleman. I think he'll be gone after the season. Storm says, man, KC is in trouble. If not for that penalty taking away that pick, it's a walk-off W for the Giants. If they play like tonight versus the Packers next week, then they might get handed a 50 burger. I don't think the Packers are in a position to put 50 on anybody's skull. Like, that's not who they are offensively this year. But they could get a 38 on their skull. If the Bills couldn't put a 50 burger on them, Packers aren't putting a 50 burger on them. But if they're not careful, if they play the kind of ball, like you said, like they played tonight with penalties and turnovers and mistakes and drop passes and things of that nature, yeah, they could get a 37 on their skull next week for sure. I'm just going to tell y'all again, do not count Kansas City out. All right, I'm just telling y'all, don't do it. Dejan Bell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Dejan writes, do you want us to tank at this point? I don't believe in tanking. That's not my philosophy. You know that. I want to win as many games as possible. I don't want to instill a culture where it is okay to lose, where it is accepted to lose. Again, that's a fan thing. Players never think that way. Never. I don't know if you were watching the Manning cast tonight, but Jon Stewart, who's a fan of the Giants, said, so what am I rooting for right now? Should I root for them to lose the rest of their game so we can get a high draft pick? And without hesitation, both Mannings are like, hell no. Players don't think that way. Their brains aren't wired that way. I'm not wired. I'm too competitive. If you're a competitive person and you could spin it this way, well, if you're competitive, then you want to win, then the best thing to do is to lose so you can get a high draft pick so that guy can then help you win at the quarterback position. I hear that. You know what else you could do? Win as many games as you can possibly win. And then if you love a guy, trade up and go get his ass. You can do that too. Can't have it both ways. Like Ron Rivera's like, hey, I didn't want to give up what, teams were asking for us to go up and get a quarterback last year. Well, you can't have it both ways. You can't want to win and go up and get the quarterback. You got to do one or the other. I've seen teams do that. I've seen the Texans go up and get Deshaun Watson. I watched the Chiefs go up and get Patrick Mahomes. It can be done. How bad you want him? I watched the Buffalo Bills go up to get Josh Allen. And you could go up even further. I watched the Eagles go up to get Carson Wentz. So I watched the Rams go up to get Jared Goff. The bottom line is I want to win. I don't want to tank. I don't believe in that. I want to win games. Period. End of discussion. Let's see. Reese says, Joe Judge is a complete buffoon. Another Belichick coaching tree reject. And I already figured out what the problem is with these coaches that come from that Belichick tree is they've been infected with the Patriot way, and they think that they can take that virus and spread it when they go to their next destination. And the problem is you can't take that and just transfer it over without winning. You win, and players will buy into whatever the hell you're saying because they respond to winning. You start losing, though, and you start to lose your team because guys have been in other spots, and we ain't never do shit like this. Don't tell me that guys are retiring and, Giants fans, whoa, guys are retiring all over the league. You guys are just picking on the Giants. No. Guys got to New York. They wanted to play football, realized this is not what the hell I signed up for. I'm sick of this shit. I don't have time for this. I'm retiring. That wasn't on accident. We'll see what happens. Emperor Meech writes, Chiefs are in a world of trouble because I've seen the Pro Bowl defense play better than them. That's an insult. I had to make that statement make sense in my brain. And then when it clicked, when it registered, I'm like, wait a minute. Damn. Chitlin circuit. I want to see what they do next week. I'm going to reserve judgment on them because they haven't had Chris Jones for the last month and some change. He just got back. He's such a difference maker. There aren't many players in the league that their presence on the field changes things as drastically as a guy like Chris Jones, but he's one of the select few on that side of the ball where if he plays, he makes a difference. He made a difference tonight. So I want to see what this defense continues to look like because I felt like they've been getting better, but I also acknowledge that they played Washington 3 weeks ago and they played the Giants this week, and sandwich in between was the Tennessee Titans, and they got their asses railroaded. So I understand that the level of competition hasn't been all that great, and that's when they played better defensively. I want to see what they do against a legitimate offensive team in the Green Bay Packers, and if the defense can hold them to 24 or less, I'm sold that the defense is good enough for them to turn things around. We'll see. See where we at. Emperor Meech says, I'm sitting here like Thanos right now. Giants will be destroyed by any means, and this is delicious. You are so vindictive right now. It's not even funny. I mean, the amount of disdain you have for your own organization is palpable. It's comical, but I get it. That's how we were with Bruce Allen. Like, seriously. I don't like tanking, but I was like, the only way we're going to get his ass out of here is if we lose and we lose big. If we keep being 7-9 and he keeps getting to say we're close and he keeps getting to march into Bruce's or Dan's office and say, hey, if this guy hadn't gotten injured and this guy hadn't gotten injured and this referee hadn't made this call, we'd be 10-6 and we'd be in the playoffs right now. And that's what he would do every year. So he would keep talking that we're close bullshit. We had to hit rock bottom for Dan to say, all right, this shit's got to go. So I get it. I understand where you are because we were just there 2 years ago. So I understand where you're coming from. Metaphor writes, they showed it nice and they manned up 3 outside and doubled Tyreek and Kelsey. That's going to be the new move, especially in the red zone. You can't do that all over the field. But when shit gets tight and condensed in the red zone, you can do that. Just say, all right, everybody else get one-on-ones. Kelsey and Hill, we're going to put 2 on y'all. Somebody else beat us. What you got for me, Demarcus Robinson? What you got for me, Mecole Hardman? Y'all holler at me. Talk to me. What y'all got? What you got, Blake Bell? Got anything? No? Maybe so? Josh Gordon, anything? No? Okay, cool. That's what I thought. If it ain't one of them 2 dudes, I don't expect anybody else to beat me. So that's what it's going to be until other guys step up, until Mahomes has confidence to look at those guys and give them a chance. That's what it's going to be. Derek B. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, the Chiefs are fraudulent. 3 or 4 wins against the NFC least. I see them losing the next 3 straight and at least 4 of the next 7. Ouch. Interesting take. I've already said that, the NFC East has bailed them out. And this was their last get out of jail free card. This was their last NFC East get out of jail free card. Already used the Eagles once after losing to the Ravens. Already used the Washington football team after getting destroyed by the Bills. And now they just used the Giants after getting railroaded by the Titans a week ago. So they've used all 3 of their NFC East get out of jail free cards. They have no more remaining. They're pretty much left to their own devices at this point. They're going to have to figure it out. And they had time to figure this shit out. They really did. Now you got to figure it out on the fly against Green Bay, Vegas, and Dallas in the next 3 weeks. Good luck. You're going to need it, as I said earlier. Fraudulent is a very, very dangerous word. It's almost as dangerous as calling a player a bust year 1 or 2 of their careers. They're like, just say, I wouldn't do that with the Chiefs yet. Don't put dirt on these boys, man. You might not be wrong. Okay? They might be fraudulent and not a good team this year. I'm just saying, save fraudulent for the Cincinnati Bengals. Save fraudulent for the Chargers or the Raiders. And I'm not saying those teams are fraudulent. Just save terms like that for teams that haven't been to either the championship game or the Super Bowl the last 3 years. That's all I'm saying. We'll see. You might be right. Got a super chat. It's from Dejan Bell. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Dejan writes, so is Ron losing our team? No, I don't think so. I don't think he is. I know he's doing something unconventional this week that I know a lot of players may not like, but you don't like it, win some goddamn games, and then you wouldn't have to worry about this. They're practicing this week. They got a bye week, and they're practicing. And that's what you get when you're 2-6, though. So that's something interesting that you don't really hear much of, is a team practicing over their bye week. But that's where we are with ours right now. I don't think he's losing the team, though. And I think the players respect Ron. He's a player's coach because he was once a player himself, so he understands what the grind of the NFL is. And I think that some guys, they're still trying to get some of these guys to buy in. And that can be tough sometimes. So I wouldn't be shocked if we see a couple more guys move on in the offseason just simply because they haven't, totally bought into what Ron is coaching them, and the rest of his coaches are coaching them to do. But I can tell you, I'm not the biggest Sam Mills III fan. And there were a couple of people screaming he needed to be fired, one in particular. And now I'm like, hey, man, you might not be wrong. Anyway, John McDowell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy John McDowell writes, hey, Lou, what's up, John? Other than rest and practice, what should the Washington football team do during the bye? P.S. I hope the tank talk is all in jest. Well, no, there are fans that feel that way, that felt that way after we lost to the Chargers in week 1. That we're saying we're going to, when we lost to the Bills in week 3 for sure. I can't tell you how many people said we were going to go 1-16, and when we lost to the Saints, we're not winning another game this season. So, I mean, they're not wrong. We haven't won another game yet, but we also went through the toughest part of our schedule just now. So anyway, there are people out there that want to tank. Trust me. And it's not just 1 or 2. It's a nice, sizable chunk of the fan base that would like to lose, 14 games this season and be the number 2 pick in the draft again, which I don't want any parts of. But they don't see it the way that I see it. But I don't believe in tanking. That's just not something that's not even in my vocabulary. That's other people's vernacular, not mine. I mean, Ron already told you what they got to do. It's what every team does. You self-scout over the bye. What are the things we do well? We need to do more of that. What are the things we don't do well? We need to minimize those things. Who's playing well, who's not playing well? Can we make a position switch here? Do we need to upgrade this position? Like, these are the things you start to take a look at during the bye week. They'll do those things, and you just go back to the drawing board and see if you can't correct them for the second half of the season. So Ron already said they're going to assess every player, every position, all their strategies, all the things that they're doing schematically. They're going to take a look at all of that stuff, because when you're 2-6, obviously a lot of shit isn't working. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Metaphor writes, I think Derek B copyrighted the word fraudulent. That's his word, fraudulent. Hear it quite often. And I've heard it a lot, especially regarding the Washington football team. Not just with Derek B. I've heard the word fraudulent. So we've heard a lot of that over the last month or so with Washington. So that's definitely one of Derek B's go-to. That's his I digress. Dejan Bell, thank you for the super chat. Double up, even though you tripled it up. I forgot to double you up the last time. So thank you for super chat and doubling up and now tripling up. Who writes, so is Ron starting to lose our team then? So I guess you were waiting for me to answer the last time, but no, he's not losing our team. I don't see Ron losing this team, right now. And we're such a young team. It's a lot easier to lose a veteran team. They've seen it. They've done it. They know what it's supposed to look like, or at least they think they know what it's supposed to look like, especially if you've been in organizations that have won. We don't have a lot of that on our team. We got a bunch of young guys. So you don't lose young players a lot of times. Okay. You lose veterans. Like that's the problem when you get a coach that wants to take and implement such a rigid, culture like the Patriots, and you want to take it somewhere else, and then you have a bunch of veteran players that are already there with the last regime. Even though the last regime wasn't good, they're saying, okay, I'm going to give this a chance. But if this shit doesn't work, we're doing this 10 times as hard as we were doing it before when we were losing, and we're still getting the same results. So why the hell should I do this shit when we did it way easier and had the same results with the last coaching staff? Well, we don't have that in Washington because they've turned the roster over, and most of the guys are young. We're one of the youngest teams in the NFL. You want to know why we keep making silly mistakes? We're a young football team. I know people don't want to hear that, but it's true. We're a very young football team. So, no, I don't think he's losing the team. Let's see. Emperor Meech writes, also, I heard the damage control episode of Washington Nightly yesterday. The whining is delightful after flogging the Giants fans. You and your team are next to be flogged. The damage control episode. When was I trying to we've already quit. We punted. The season's over. Where's the damage control? So let me state my position again on what I thought this team was going to be this year. Because, when you listen to the wrong fans, you get the wrong perception of where this team is and what they should be. This was supposed to be a 7-win floor team, 10-win ceiling team. That was my estimation. Now, I allowed myself to drink the Kool-Aid. I sipped slow, but I allowed myself because as the season draws near, I get more and more excited. And I was excited about this defense. And what really pushed me over the top was seeing Chase Young get that sack on the first possession versus the New England Patriots in the preseason. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this defense is going to be killer. I haven't seen that Chase Young and I haven't seen that defense at all this season. So I was overzealous with the 10, which was it. And I said this a million times. 10 was the absolute best we could do. Best case scenario, Ryan Fitzpatrick plays out of his brain. We don't turn it over. We're +5 in the positive In the turnover department, we are healthy, relatively healthy throughout the season. The ball bounces our way. When we force a fumble, we recover. When we fumble, we get it back. Those types of things had to happen for us to get to 10 wins. Everything had to go right. And I said, we're more of an 8-win team, 8, 9, somewhere in there. 7 is the floor. As I saw this defense, I recalibrated because that's what you do. And I said, okay, 9 is the ceiling, 6 is the floor. Well, we needed to beat the Saints. We didn't. That's what forced me to recalibrate to 9 is the ceiling, 6 is the floor. I said, we got to beat Denver or the season's over. We lost to the Denver Broncos. So now it's 8 is the ceiling, 5 is the floor, and there's no hope of playoff contention for this team. As bad as the 7 seed is. You, me, Eagles, Panthers, all those teams still in it. Even with 2 wins, we're still in it, but we're not in it. You're not in it. We're not in it because we're not good enough. So I don't know who you were listening to. There is no damage control. This is Ron's plan year 2. We weren't supposed to be winning anything meaningful in year 2 of Ron's plan. The only reason the expectations were what they were is because 7-9 was good enough to win the division last year. If Dak Prescott, doesn't get hurt last season, 7-9 is good for second place. And we're not having this conversation right now. But because 7-9 was good enough for the division, and then we hosted a home playoff game, and the fans think that we pushed Tampa Bay to the limit, even though they didn't have their best player defensively in Devin White in the game. And honestly, we were never in a position to win the game, only tie it. And that would have required a Taylor Heineke miracle drive and a 2-point conversion, which we hadn't converted a 2-point play all season long. So this whole fallacy that fans came up in their mind with of this team pushing Tampa Bay to the limit and playing them as hard as anybody played them in the playoffs. Did you not watch the Green Bay game? Did you not watch the Saints game? The Saints were actually winning in the fourth quarter of that game. If Jared Cook Jr. doesn't fumble the football, the Saints are going to beat the Buccaneers. The Packers had the football not once, not twice, but 3 times with a chance to take the lead, not with a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, just a touchdown. We did not play them the toughest of anybody in the playoffs. That was made up by people that wanted to make our season something that it wasn't last year. You never heard that from me. We played Tampa tough. And I said before the game, they're not going to blow us out because that was our mantra last year. You may beat us, you're not going to blow us out. And they didn't. And that's all I wanted was us to fight. And we did. But there were other people beating this team's chest, fans, some media pundits talking about Washington is the second best team in the NFC behind the Buccaneers. What? With Ryan Fitzpatrick? What? So I said all of that to say this. I don't know who you've been listening to. You couldn't have gotten it from me. You said you watched Washington Football Nightly the other night. I just did an episode tonight. That episode did not have one bit of damage control in it. And if you're talking about Friday's episode, that was before we lost to Denver. Thought we were going to win that game. I was guilty as charged. But if you're talking about Sunday's show, Overtime, which is not Washington Football Nightly, there's no damage control in that video whatsoever. That was essentially saying this season is over. We stink. That's pretty hard to admit on October the 31st that your season's done. I only go into seasons asking for one thing every year. It's a very low bar, I know, but when you've been preconditioned to know that your team is probably more likely than not going to stink, and you've been beaten up so badly that every year you just ask for one thing. Just get me to November playing meaningful football. We couldn't even do that this year. And that's what stinks, is that couldn't even get to November playing meaningful football. Season's done already. But when you're not a good team, that's what happens. So I'd like to know what you're talking about. Okay. Metaphor. Good thing we got rid of Gano. And now Dustin even made a perfect 52-yarder for the Chargers. Like I said, I'm not going to track his career because that would only make it more painful. We all know what happened to Graham Gano and how good he turned out to be. But again, when he was in Washington, he was missing kicks. I can't defend you when you're missing kicks. Same with Dustin Hopkins. He was missing kicks. I don't want to sit here and make it seem like Dustin Hopkins was the best kicker in the league or one of the best. My problem wasn't that they got rid of Dustin Hopkins. Understand what I'm saying, because some people take things out of context. It wasn't that they got rid of him. It's when they got rid of him. That's always been my point. I'm not sitting here trying to debate whether Dustin Hopkins belonged here in Washington. Okay. He missed kicks in an untimely fashion. Okay. There's a third quarter miss, like against the Chiefs. Those shits hurt too. There's a first quarter miss, and then there's a miss to win a game against the Giants that he got a do-over against. Or there's a miss against the Cincinnati Bengals over in London that cost us a playoff spot. These are the types of misses you never forget. And he's had too many of them. There's missed extra points that come back to haunt you like it did in 2020 against the Seattle Seahawks. After a while, those start to add up and there's no going back. I wasn't upset about moving on from him. It's when they did it. I already said, and Ron had the audacity to say this today at his his day after presser. It's hard to find consistent kickers, guys that make kicks in this league on the streets during the season. All the good kickers are on rosters. Well, if you know that, why the hell did you release Dustin Hopkins? That's the shit that just blows my mind. You know this, which is why you didn't want to move on from Hop this long. Just wait till the bye week then. Give yourself time. That's all I was saying. Anyway, Captain Spartan 04 writes, let's be real. Sterling Shepard is the reason the Giants stink. He's the last member left from the famous boat pick. They haven't been the same since, AKA they're still cursed until Sterling is gone. Maybe there's some truth to that. I don't know. He's a good football player, but he's never healthy. That's his biggest problem. So he can't ever stay healthy, but he's a good football player when he is healthy, but maybe there is a little bit of validity to that. You know, the famous epic boat pick. I got a super chat here from Dejan Bell. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Dejan writes, my bad, didn't mean to duplicate, but LTN for life. Hey, no worries. I knew that you probably thought I didn't see the first one, so it's all good. I got you, man. Appreciate you, as always, Dejan Bell. See where we left off at. I think I had another one coming from Emperor Meech, and I did. Here it is. He says, I'm going to finish beating the skin off 95% of the Giants fan base for their actions and treason, but you were talking hot shit, so you along with your team are next to be beaten. I don't know. I want to know what you're talking about. About what? Are you talking about what I thought we were going to do this year? Because I like I said, I was never confident in Ryan Fitzpatrick. So, I don't know what you're talking about. Now, if you're talking about after we beat y'all in week 2, you had that coming. You had beaten us too many times. You were due for a loss. So I don't know what you're talking about, but you know where to find me. And you know I'm not running. And I'm always down for an old-fashioned stare down. So whatever you got, I'm here. I'm a grown-ass man. I'm 40. I'm not 40, but I'm here. You know what it is. I'll be here. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm always down for a stare down. My guy Derek B writes, Reed going conservative at the end of the game told me everything I need to know about how he feels about his team. I think that was less about what he feels about his team, more about how he felt about the Giants. Like, I thought Peyton Manning said it best, and I already said this. They don't need a touchdown, right? You want a touchdown? If you really thought he was being conservative, why not just run it? If you score, great. If you don't, you burn 40 seconds, you kick the field goal. He threw it. So that tells me he wasn't being conservative. And he told Mahomes, whatever you do, don't throw an incomplete pass. We need to burn these 40 seconds. So Mahomes took the sack. So I don't think he was being conservative, but the way they approached it with the little toss, they got to make the Giants use that timeout. Again, keep in mind the Giants, if the Giants had all three of their timeouts, they wouldn't have played it that way. But the Giants are the Giants. They're a bad team. So, of course, they blew two of their timeouts already, only had one left. So when he looked at that situation and he said, they got Daniel Jones over there. Man, all right, let's burn this clock up a little bit. And if we get a field goal, cool. We want a touchdown. That'll really end this game. But if we get a field goal, they're not getting a field goal. So he did what he did. I don't blame him for that. Like Manning said, that ain't Tom Brady on the other side. It's Daniel Jones. They're not getting in the field goal range. So you can be conservative there. But they weren't conservative. I didn't feel that way. If they were being conservative, then you just run it on third down. They didn't do that. They dropped Mahomes back, and they were looking to get in the end zone. And the Giants had good defense, and Kelsey was coming open in his line of sight, but so was a defender coming to sack him. So, I don't know. I guess we just differ on that. Emperor Meat says, KC needs to really address the defense. The look lost every week and struggle against this team is inexcusable, especially without Galladay or Shepard. Yeah, they're struggling right now. Ain't no doubt about that. They are struggling. And I don't think they really know how to put their finger quite on what is wrong. But I think one of the things that they can try to clean up, and it's tough when you're undisciplined. Andy Reid's teams have always been undisciplined. They've been able to overcome them. Go look at how many penalties they've averaged. This is always a heavily penalized team, always, even when they were good. This isn't new. They just were able to overcome it. I remember when the NFL was playing around with the idea of getting rid of onside kicks at the end of games and just putting you in a 4th and 15 situation to convert from like your own 30, own 25, own 30. And if you do, wherever you complete that pass, you just keep the ball there and you just keep it going from that point forward. And I remember Patrick Mahomes tweeting out something to the effect of laughing, 4th and 15, really? That's it? Because that's what they were at one point. Okay, we got an offensive pass interference on 3rd and 7, and now it's 3rd and 17. Who cares? We'll get 20 on 3rd and 17. That was the Chiefs. It's not the Chiefs anymore. So they've lost a bit of that swag. They used to be able to overcome, 9 penalties for 101 yards in a game. And that was nothing. Overcome that with no problems. Score 40 with a Coke and a smile while doing it. They're not that team anymore. They can't afford to give away yards. They're not that team anymore. So, again, the roost, the crows are coming home to roost. Or is it the chickens? Do crows, they don't roost, right? I think it's the chickens are coming home to roost. Whatever. Bottom line is they're not getting away with the things that they've gotten away with in the past. So, Derek B writes, where is this Daniel Jones when we play the Giants? 5 games, he always plays like an MVP because we stink. That's the difference. And I'm going to tell you right now, one of the most unheralded positions in all of football right now on the defensive side is the safety position. You give me a free safety like Justin Simmons I can do some things defensively. The Chargers defense is so much better because they've got my man from Florida State, Derwin James, back. He's forcing fumbles. He's picking off passes. We don't have that guy. Literally, Teddy Bridgewater threw the football right to our free safety and he dropped it. Tyrann Mathieu is everywhere. Everywhere. Blitzing. Man-to-man. Zone, reading the eyes of the quarterback. Taking shit away. We don't have a guy like that. All right. Let me take this last one and we'll get out of here. Captain Spartan says, Chiefs are really just going to stand put tomorrow and not make any trades. Like they need to add something before their window completely closes. Mathieu ain't guaranteed back. I mean, he's not happy with them right now. You know, we talked about this. He's not happy with his contract situation, and it doesn't help when he sees guys like Jamal Adams and Justin Simmons getting broken off this offseason. He wants to be paid. And the Chiefs are like, bro, we're not in a position to do that right now. And we may not be in a position to do that at all. And you're not getting any younger. We're not going to pay you for what you've done. We're going to pay you for what you're going to do in the future. And we looking at you and we see a 30-something and we just don't know if that's what we're trying to do. So this could be it, you know, with him, you know. So I like Juan Thornhill, you know, and I think he's turning into a good football player, but he's not Tyrann Mathieu. A few guys in the league are. So I don't know if they're in a position. I've talked about this, though. You know, we could talk about the Chiefs need to do this, they need to do that, but it takes cap space, one, and I don't know their situation, but it also takes draft capital. And I don't know if the Chiefs are in a position to be giving that up either. So that's another thing to consider. They gave away a lot of draft capital to get their offensive line the way that they've gotten it, you know, specifically trading for Orlando Brown. And so I'm not sure they're in a position to make any moves or not. Because at some point, you got to get cheap labor. If you're going to pay Tyreek Hill, you're going to pay Patrick Mahomes, you're going to pay Travis Kelce, you're going to pay your left tackle, you're going to pay your left guard, you're going to pay all these dudes all this big money. You're going to pay Chris Jones. They've already paid all of these guys. You're going to need some cheap labor to fill in the blanks. You can't keep giving away draft picks. That's why what the Rams are doing is incredible. But they keep hitting in the 5th, 6th, and 7th round. You got to do that. If you're going to give away 1st, 2nds, and 3rds, you got to be hitting at a high clip in the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. But at some point, it's going to catch up with you if you're going to pay all these dudes this money. Like, it caught up with the Rams. They had to trade Kenny Young. Kenny Young's a good young linebacker playing good football. They had to trade him. They don't have any money. It was like Happy Gilmore's grandma. He said, Grandma, you haven't paid your taxes? She said, I would have paid them, but I didn't have any money. We would have kept Kenny Young, but we didn't have any money. I mean, what you going to do? So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. I thank all of you for joining me tonight on the show. Chiefs, 20. Giants, 17. It wasn't pretty, but it was gritty. Most importantly, it was a dub. And the Chiefs are back to 500. As I mentioned already multiple times tonight, their last NFC East get-out-of-jail-free card has been used. 3 of their 4 wins have come against the NFC East, which isn't anything to brag about. Now they've got to go into the real world and actually beat real teams. Let's see if they're capable of doing it or not. This Green Bay game is going to be very telling. Even if they don't win, they can still come out of that thing feeling like, okay, because Green Bay is not a slouch. They may ultimately be the team that represents the NFC in the Super Bowl. So if they lose that game, you can say, okay, that's a good team. It's how they lose the game that will be interesting to watch. How they lose or if they win. It doesn't matter how they win. If they win, you say, man, they beat Green Bay. Even if it's ugly, even if it looks like tonight's game, it's 20-17. They beat Green Bay. But if they lose to Green Bay and it looks like this, but they lose 20-17, you say, okay, defense is a lot better than we thought. They're going to have a shot. They're not the same Chiefs, but you can't stick a fork in them. They're not done yet. So we'll see. They get the win. It wasn't pretty, but as I mentioned, most importantly, it was gritty and it was a dub. For the Giants, they had a chance to win 2 in a row, get to 3-5, and really insert themselves in that discussion with Carolina, Atlanta, San Francisco, Minnesota, Philadelphia for that 7th seed with all those 3-win teams. They had a chance to insert themselves into that discussion tonight, and they failed to do so. So they are now 2-6, and we'll see what becomes of their season. They got the Raiders next. That's not an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. But again, with the way their defense is playing, they'll probably be in that game. They just won't make enough plays to win that game. But we shall see. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Monday Night Football Overtime. Get off the bench, get in the game, and kick it with me, your man Louie T. Until next time, I'm going to thank each and every single one of you out there for joining me. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Turn on your notification bell if you haven't already done so, and also hit the like button as that helps this channel grow exponentially. God bless and good night.
LouieTeeNetwork.